Welcome to this workshop. In this workshop we're going to look at some methods how to transfer your design or a photo or an image you have to the paper you want to work on. You can even have a picture on your phone and you want to transfer it to paper, to draw it, to ink it, to paint it. And there's various ways to do that. Now I'm not going to discuss all the ways there are in the world, but I'm picking some of my favorites. And we're even going to build something together to make this process really nice and easy. All right, well, let's dive into the first method. Let's explore the first method. Now, the first method is definitely my favorite. What are we going to need for this? I'm going to need a blank piece of paper. I'm going to use a pencil, whatever pencil you have, doesn't really matter. And of course, I need that something to transfer. And that should be somewhere around here. And I of course need something to transfer. Now for that I'm using this image. There's two images. There's a simple flower here. There's a little bit more complicated, not really complicated flower. You can use these are attached to the workshop and you can use this to just practice. Well, the first one is a light box. Now years ago I bought this light box and it was quite expensive. The first one, the LED. Now I have another light box too, one of these huge, big, large ones with a bulb in it. But since we have LED light boxes now, it's really easy to use. Now, years ago, these were expensive, but nowadays I've seen them for around $10 in the store and they're working pretty well. And of course, a light box is really easy. You just put down your design. You could tape it with some masking tape. I'm not going to do all of that to save some time. You just put the paper you want on it and then whatever you do, you switch on the light box and hopefully the camera will pick it up well. We'll see some flickering. That should be gone now, the bending, and that is it. And do I even want to demonstrate this? No, I don't think I even want to demonstrate it. Really easy. You just put on your design first, then you put the paper on it, and that works great. Now this works up to about 300 grams paper, thick paper too, for if you want to do some watercolor painting or acrylic painting. But at some point, of course, this has its limits, so that's why we're going to explore some more options. So this is the really easy, quick method. All right, that's the first one. Instead of a light box, what you could also use is your phone or your tablet to do this. You can use your phone tablet as a light box. And let me demonstrate that. What you just put it on as bright as possible. I hope this camera will pick that up well. It's probably pretty bright. You take a piece of paper, put it on there. And as you can see, your tablet works fine as a light box too, or your phone. The only thing is, if I would go draw on this and touch it, then things are going to move around. Now, some tablets have a lock mode. They can lock the screen. If your tablet can't do that, there's a very easy solution. What you need is a piece of plastic or a piece of glass. I've got a piece of glass that is from a photo frame. You put that on top of the tablet. And now if I touch it, nothing will happen with the tablet. I just put the design on there and it just works exactly the same as a light box. Now you can see, faintly probably, yes, faintly you should see that. If you make your room dark, so if I would put down the blinds and things like that, you would see this a lot better. Yeah, so if you want to work like this with a light box or with your tablet, I would recommend putting down the blinds, then you can see it a lot better. Or the other thing you can do if you don't want to put down the blinds is get something, I have a sketchbook here, to block the lights, as you can see here. And now right away you see the difference. Yeah. So during the day you just block the lights and then you can see it a lot better. All right, that's a little alternative for the light box. All right, as said, at the end there's more alternatives, but let's move to the next one now. Now what if you don't have a light box, or you don't want to buy one? Is there a solution? Can you create your own? Yes, you can. We're going to do that at the end, the last one. But there's an easy method though that works great too for transferring during the day. Now this only works pretty much during the day. And what you need for that is a piece of glass or a window. Now I take a piece of glass to demonstrate it so that it works well, so that you can see what is happening. For that I'm going to switch to another camera. So for that you have this piece of glass and it's nicely reflecting already. It's kind of weird, you don't see my head, but for this that will work. So either you do this on a window or you take a piece of glass, and what you do is, first of all, you take your design, you just put it on there, and this time I am actually going to tape it, otherwise this is not going to work too well for me. And the piece of glass I do have is just simply from a frame, a photo frame. I just took that glass out from the photo frame, stick my design on it like that, and there you go. You could also use a piece of thick plastic for that, as long as it is pretty clear. The next thing, what I'm doing, I'm taping my design on it. So, and I'm doing that quite roughly now. Very roughly now. I'm sticking it even anywhere I don't want it. All right, it's done. There it is. And it's on there. And as soon as I put this against the light, you can see vaguely, yes, there it is. I can see it. You can see that's the flower. Yeah. And as long as you, if I would film from the other side, I might try from the top. Do we see a little bit more if I tilt it like this? Yes, there you go. From the top camera, if I tilt it like this, then the light comes through, and right away you see here clearly that design, and you can trace it. So if you don't have a light box, but you have a window, I think everyone has a window, or a piece of glass, this works great. What you could also do with the piece of glass is you could, let me show that on the other camera, you could take something to raise it. I'm taking 2 balls, put it on there, and with a little bit of luck you already can see the flowers here, and you can use it like that. You need to raise it from the ground though, so that the light comes through, yeah? That's the only trick. As said, we're going to explore this a little bit more later on, but we'll get back to that. So this would be the second method, the easy way to transfer something. Now, what if you don't have a printer, or you want to transfer your design to a smaller paper, or a huge paper, or a huge canvas, or whatever? Is there a way to do that? Yes, there is. And that is called the grid method. We're going to go into the grid method now. Now, some artists really do hate this method, but if you have nothing else you can use, this is actually a very good method. It takes some time, not like the others where you can just trace, but it is very handy, convenient to have. All right, let's dive into that one. For this, you need, of course, something to work, which you want to transfer. So I need an empty paper, I need the photo or whatever I have, and I need a pencil, and I'm going to use a ruler, and that's basically it. Pencil again, doesn't matter. Grid method is just as it said. What you do is you create a grid, and I'm just gonna say, all right, let me do that properly. Put this paper aside, put that line there. I'm gonna do a grid of, let's say for this one, 2 centimeters. And this is gonna be a quick grid, 2 centimeters each. You could do an inch, of course. There you go. And I'm just gonna draw, I have that one guideline there, which you have to put as straight as possible. And I'm gonna do 2 centimeters there. All right, and then I'm gonna do that, create these lines, my grid lines. There you go. And the next thing, I just need one more here, because otherwise I'm gonna miss this part. And there you go. Now, if you want to have a nice straight line, what you can do, you can start at this side, measure from here, or take it as nice as possible. But see, I'm pretty straight. And then the next thing, what I'm going to do is measure that from the top. I'm going to have my first one at 1 centimeter. Do that here to 1 centimeter, and then I'm going to skip 2 centimeters, or you could do inch, half an inch, whatever you want, until you're pretty much at the bottom. And I'm going to do the same here, 1 centimeter, start there, and then skip a centimeter each, 2 centimeters each time. And I'm going to do right there, and that way I'm creating a grid. And there we go. I got a nice grid. Now what I do next, what I do have to do next is of course create a grid on the paper I'm using. Now the huge advantage of this is I can now create a grid that is smaller or larger, whatever I want. I'm going to create a grid that is larger. So I'm again going to create just a random line there. I'm going to set a random line here. Put it as straight as possible. And on this one, I'm going to say I'm going to use 1 centimeter instead of 2. And I can count these boxes. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since this is a square, I know I need 6 there, 6 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's good. And I'm going to create 6 here too. All right. And now what I'm going to do, that should be, I'm going to roughly do this. I could mesh this. If you want to do it nicely, you just measure 6, the same length she has there, you measure there too. And I'm going to do these dots there. I'm going to do this. So if you have a huge canvas, this method works every time. You can transfer whatever you want onto your canvas. Now I'm doing this quite thick, but I would recommend if you do it that you do these grid lines very thin, because I want you to see it very well. But of course, when I'm working, I wouldn't do these thick grid lines. And there you go. And that would be the same grid as here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm doing A, B, C, D, E, and F. A, B, C, D, E, and F. And by doing that, I can easily know where I want to do something. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to look at the square. I'm going to say A1, there's nothing in it. But B1, there is a little bit here on the corner. Now, the more accurate you do your grid, the smaller, the more accurate your drawing will be. But we're going to do a rough one. So I'm seeing in this corner, there's that piece. Now, there's something in C1 too. And there you go. I'm going to do that D1 too. I'm going to say, okay, there's in the corner that one and this one that connects right there. And I think you get this. I'm not going to demonstrate this any longer, but that's the way you can transfer. So you look at each square and you're going to say at A2, there's a little bit in it, and you continue that, you connect everything and you transfer your design. Now, with this grid method, what you could also do, and let me show you that, I've got one, is create your own grid. So I've got this grid. And I'm gonna guess this grid is at least 7 years old, but serves me very well. And what you can do with that, let me do that for the other one. You can just put it over your photo. Then let's say you have a photo you want to keep and you just don't want to draw that grid on it. Now this makes it really easy. I put the grid on it. I would stick it with some tape, of course, then. And then you get your paper and you exactly do the same. Now, as you can see, I've got 2 grids. I've got a very accurate one, a very small one. There's a lot of details in my drawing. And I've got a rough one like here. And you can do this. This is on just a piece of plastic, simple plastic, with a marker, with one of these permanent markers. Otherwise it doesn't work. Then you smudge it and it stays there on forever. You can use this for years. Now, if you have one of my art classes, most of the time I supply a booklet with the designs in it, and one of them will be with the grid method so that students can use that. But what if you have a design on your computer, let's say on your tablet, and there's no grid on it? Well, there's an easy way to fix that. Well, let me show you that. All right, what you need then is to create a grid like this one I have here. Then the next thing is you need your tablet. Well, here's my tablet, and as you can see, the same drawing is on it to make it easy. Next thing what you can do is put that grid on the tablet, and there you go. Now I can work from my tablet without having to draw anything, without putting a grid on it myself, because I have prepared that grid and it works really well. All right, well, I'm not gonna demonstrate drawing this again. The principles course works exactly the same as here. You can go large, you can go big, you can go one-on-one. All right, so that is the grid method. Pretty easy method, although if you have a very complicated design, it can get complicated. You have to pay attention to where you put everything, but this method works every time, everywhere. Well, that was a great method too. Are there more methods? Yes, there are. We're going to just expand on this a little bit more. So let's dive into the next one together. I'm going to demonstrate the next method. For that, I'm going to need my pencil, I'm going to need a design, and I'm going to need an empty paper. Now the next thing what you can do is I can transfer this easily by using graphite. And what you could do with this, I'm going to demonstrate it. You need a pencil. As you've seen me, I'm using a clutch pencil. This is just an HB pencil that would work fine. I'm going to give it as much lead as possible. I'm going to look at my design. My design is right there. And what I'm going to do at the back of this paper, I'm going to put graphite. And I'm just going to loosely put some graphite there. And with this method, the more graphite, the better. Now, if you have a B2 or a B4, you could do that too and use that on there. And I need to make sure I'm doing the bottom part. So I'm only going to demonstrate part of this, of course. I'm not going to do all of it. Put down as much graphite as possible. And this is a quite accurate method. If you don't have a Lightbox, this works very well too. Well, I think I've got quite some nice graphite down. And at some point this paper won't take more. And the next thing what you're going to do is you're going to get your empty piece of paper where you want to work on. I want to put that on here, and as you can imagine, what I'm going to do now is, let me see which one I can do these two. Yeah, all right, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to now trace this. Press nice and firm. You could do this with a pen too. Well, my tracing is a little bit sloppy, as you can see. All right, I'm pressing nice and firm. You only have to do this once, really. And if I take this off, there you go. There's the flower. So we've now got the flower transferred to the other paper with graphite. And now I can go over it with my watercolor paint. I can ink it. I can do whatever I like. So that's another method, a really easy method. You just put a lot of graphite on the back of your paper. Then you press firmly and then you transfer a design. You could do this with a photo. Well, don't do it with photos you want to keep, but photos and things like that would work too, as long as you press hard enough. If you use a photo, I would use a pen to really get some pressure going. All right, so that is a way too, a great way to transfer something to your paper. Well, I think we're on number 5 by now. So let's go, not waste too much time me talking. We're going to the next method together. No, it didn't suddenly just get dark down here. No, I've put down the blinds to demonstrate something. I put down my blinds on purpose. The next method in the dark is what you're going to need for this one. It's a very interesting one. Is you need a piece of glass or plastic for this. And I've got this photo frame still I use, so I'm going to use that for this. So we have that piece of glass. What you need next is a piece of paper. Later on, I'm going to use this design again. Let me put that in camera. I'm going to use a pencil and I'm going to use my tablet. Now the tablet, I want the design that is on the tablet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tablet here, and there you go. And next to it I'm going to put this paper, and right in between I'm going to put this piece of glass. Now what will happen is that this, what is here, will be reflected in the piece of glass. Now you can see it, but when I turn it a little bit like this, you see, there you go, you see this reflected. Now I'm going to switch cameras. I'm going to try and pull this camera in a very strange angle, hoping that you can see it. And yes, you can see it pretty much. All right, and what you can do next is, so I'm looking at this side myself, and I'm putting my pen down right there. Oh, pen, what am I saying? Pencil, and I'm just going to trace whatever I'm seeing. This is a bit tricky because I made it myself a little bit hard. And that is because my paper is not on the same level as my design is. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Yes, I noticed I was going the wrong way. But as you can see, this works very nice. But what I would recommend is making sure that you got your design on the same level as the tablet. Now, instead of a tablet, you could use, of course, a phone. So that works great, as you can see, because the design reflects very nicely and you see it on there and you just trace it. Okay, the next thing, what I'm going to do with this, I've introduced a light source. I've got a lamp standing here, you can see clearly again. And I put my, what I want to transfer, it's now upside down, put that on purpose like that. I put my paper there and I'm going to do exactly the same. When I put this here, as soon as you look into there, and let me see if you can see that. I can see it clearly. I can now trace that. And if all is well, let me put this a little bit on the more of an angle. There you go. Now you should be able to see it right there to the design. And I see it reflected. If I hold this still, I can very easily, let me do that, trace this. And that goes very well, just the same as with the other one, but because I have it on the same level now, both, I actually make it myself a lot easier. All right, and that's it. So now if I put this away, you can clearly see what I'm creating. But you can see that nice reflection of what is. You have to put it pretty straight up, and you can just copy that one on one. So that works great too. Well, I think we've got plenty methods by now. But as said in the beginning, what if you don't have a Lightbox or you just don't want to buy it? Can we get around it? Yes, we can build our own Lightbox very easily. Well, we're going to use one of the methods we already explored a little bit, but we're going to expand on that. All right, let's go into that one, the final one. Let's do that. Well, let's build a contraption. What are we going to need for this method? Now, let's say it is dark. You don't have the Lightbox. There's no light coming through the windows. You still want to work and transfer something to your design. Can you do that? Yes, you can actually do that. What you need for that is, of course, you need that design we're having. You may need some masking tape, the pencil, and you're going to need a piece of glass or a piece of plastic for that. And I'm going to use 2 balls for that. 2 exactly the same balls, but you could use a stack of book too. All right, let's move to a different camera. We're going to build something with that. We're going to build our own Lightbox. Oh, and I'm forgetting one thing. The other thing you need is a phone. All right, let me get the phone. You need just simply this phone. It's connected. It's an old phone because my main phone is used. Actually, you're looking at me through a phone now. It's used as a camera, but this is connected to a wire, as you can see. So it's not as mobile as my regular phone, but I need that. Okay, I'm going to use that phone too. Yeah, you can use for this a tablet if it has a light, an LED light, or some other light source for this. You could do too. All right, let's do that. So that's what you need. Okay, well, let's build that. What you're going to do is, I'm going to put down these 2 bowls, and you could just set, as said, you can use a stack of books or whatever you want to. I'm going to put that glass plate on it so that it's nice and secure. I'm going to put my design here, and this should work. I might need a little bit more room. There you go. And you need, of course, an empty piece of paper. Do I still have? Oh, I can use this paper I used for something else. And since it is light now, oh no, that's not going to work. No, different paper. I need an empty piece of paper. All right. Now, since it is light now, you probably see a little bit of the design. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make it dark. I'm going to put down the blinds. So I'll be back in a second. So what we're going to do now, we need a light source under this. And for that, I need that phone. Let me see if I can switch that phone on. So the next thing we need is, of course, that light. And this is an old phone, so I have to find it. It has a flashlight app, and there's our light. Now probably you already see a little of the design, but that's not what we're going to do. I'm going to put that light source under it and introduce a light source under it. And as you can see, and you can see really nice in that top camera, I'm just going to show you that in the other camera too. And now this is my homemade LED box. It's actually LED because my phone has an LED. You could put this a little bit higher and put a stronger light on it, so that the higher you put it, and let me just lift it up for that, see, the higher you put it, of course, the more you're going to see of that design, obviously. But let me put it down, and that's the whole trick. All right, so if you have a strong, nice light source, it is dark around, you can easily use this method. And now I can, whatever I want, I can trace this very easily. I'm not even going to do that because you get the picture. So, stack of books, a glass plate. I just took a frame. And the nice thing about this is that if you want to do something larger, just get yourself a larger frame, take out that glass, and you can do as large as you want to go with this. Yeah, there's frames you can get used huge. Yeah. All right, so that is my last method. Okay, the method in the dark, our own LED box, and this will work whenever it is. If it is nice weather, if it is bad weather, doesn't matter. If it is totally dark in the evening, you can use this whenever you want. This is, what shall we call this? Should we call this the poor man's light box, huh? The poor man's light box, yeah. All right, well, you can go to the store and buy a light box too, but if you don't want to do that, this works too. And if you have a glass table, for example, this works very pretty awesome too. You just have a huge canvas available if you would have a glass table. Put a big light under it and you're ready to go. All right, good. Well, that's our little contraption. Okay, well, we've built it and now we can trace. All right, that was the final method. Now we're done with this workshop. We've got a lot of methods now to transfer a design to a paper or a canvas or whatever you would like to transfer it on. And I'm pretty sure by now you can pick your favorite. Well, thank you for being with me in this workshop. I hope you learned a lot and I hope to see you in another workshop of mine.